Hey, today I'll be talking about episodes 65 through 66 of Legend of ZhenHuan. So we're at the banquet and the emperor has seen the paper cutout that everyone acknowledges looks just like ZhenHuan. Lan Yi, trying to protect Gowon, springs into action and says it looks just as similar to Yu Rao and Huanbi, which makes sense since they're all sisters. Since this is the first time Gowon has met Yu Rao, there are only two options though, ZhenHuan or Huanbi. So Huanbi comes out and kneels down. She says it's her picture and that her and Gowon are in love. As a die-hard Huanbi hater, she did exactly the right thing here. There was no other way out. Really, they're just lucky they actually have a history. She's able to tell the emperor that they met when she asked him to save ZhenHuan from Huafei, which did happen. She actually has been to his palace to take care of him when he fell off his horse, and of course, she actually is in love with him, so she doesn't even really have to act. She even knows what kind of flower petals are in the pouch because of ZhenHuan, but she says it's because they're her favorite flower. The story checks out completely. Gowon's face is just... I don't know what I would be feeling either watching my life change like this, but to be fair, you are the reason for all of this. The emperor, feeling generous, decides to grant them a marriage. Since her status is low, ZhenHuan suggests making Huanbi her official god sister. On the surface, this is a touching move between servant and master, but because of their actual relationship, Huanbi being her bastard half-sister, it means even more. They are so lucky, everything is perfectly set out, and Gowon puts his foot in his mouth. He says he doesn't want to marry Huanbi. He met another woman years ago and has been in love with her ever since.
但在陈帝心里，她才是唯一的妻子。
What? It's just so ridiculous. Huanbi set up the perfect story about your love and now it doesn't make any sense. What are you doing? I know it's easier said than done to marry someone you don't love, but when the stakes are this high, I don't understand why Gowon thinks his feelings matter at all. Despite Gowon's protests, the emperor grants Huanbi the marriage. Again, I know, easier said than done, but ZhenHuan really should have a happier expression here. Her beloved servant has become a part of her family at her request and is marrying another dear friend of hers. There's nothing to frown about, and again, it makes the story look so sketchy. The emperor must be drunk, because if I were him, I would be suspicious as hell right now. Huanbi escorts ZhenHuan out for some air, and Gowon follows them. He is of course here to see ZhenHuan and not his fiancée. I do feel for Huanbi here. She did what had to be done and is now watching her future husband consoling her sister about having to marry her.
我知道你难受，但我比你更难受。
You don't get to be upset. This is your fault, you ding dong. ZhenHuan is of course devastated as well, but as always, she sees the future much more clearly than he does. She tells him that Huanbi really does love him and they will be married, so, you know, suck it up and treat her well.
一定要好好待她。
Since Gowon is finally getting married, the emperor decides to tack on another girl, Jingxian, a girl from a noble family who we have heard mentioned before. She's been in love with Gowon for years after meeting him once when they were young. Gowon rejected her, but she has remained single ever since, holding out hope that he would accept her one day. Now that he's getting married, she's become incredibly depressed, and her father has begged the emperor to let her marry Gowon. Since her father is an official of good standing, and the girl is kind of pitiful, the emperor decides he should marry her too. He's pretty much like, you're already marrying one, what difference does two make? If you don't like her, just leave her at home all day. Like I do. Gowon has no choice but to agree. ZhenHuan is sparing no expense for Huanbi's wedding. She obviously doesn't want Gowon to marry, but isn't taking it out on Huanbi. She promised her once that she would see her married in style, and she's keeping her word. With their goddaughter getting married, ZhenHuan's parents are finally released and allowed into the capital. This was one of the reasons ZhenHuan decided to come back to the emperor, so it's nice to see them reunited. As she's getting ready, the line that Huanbi says really encapsulates everything I dislike about Huanbi.
只可惜是侧福晋，不能穿正红色。
Okay, look at the situation. You were a servant without even a family, and you now are marrying the person you supposedly love. You've become an official part of the family you've always claimed you deserve to be in, and you're complaining that they didn't give you a high enough status. She's such an annoyingly petty person, and not to sound like Lan Yi, but Gowon deserves better. It also makes me doubt her sincerity whenever she does say something nice, because a shit person can pretend to be good, but what would a good person get out of saying such shitty things? When ZhenHuan arranges things for her marriage, I really believe she's doing it out of love for Huanbi and her father. I mean, what does she get out of giving Huanbi such a nice wedding? On the other hand, when Huanbi says stuff like,
这个位置原本应该是你的，是我占了你的。
I don't buy it. I don't really think Huanbi cares how ZhenHuan feels about this. It's almost like she's putting on a show. Anyway, she looks pretty, I guess. Gowon drinks himself into a stupor the day of the wedding, and Ajing practically has to carry him to Huanbi's room. We see his other wife, Jingxian, for the first time. She knows that he was forced into marrying her, but she doesn't seem put off. It seems she knew what she was getting herself into and is happy as long as she can be married to him. So just like that, Gowon goes from unmarried bachelor to 2 wives. The emperor continues flirting with ZhenHuan's little sister right in front of her. ZhenHuan finally outright asks,
您不会是有以玉娆为妻之心吧？
and it shows how much standing she has now that she says in no uncertain words that she does not want this. And he actually backs down, for now. Yu Rao resembles the dead empress just like ZhenHuan does, but she's younger, so... The real villain of the story, honestly, is the emperor's penis. I think I've said all I wanted to say about the wedding. This whole thing was Gowon's fault, and Huanbi definitely did the right thing. Knowing Gowon, he won't mistreat either of his wives, but there's also no room for anyone but ZhenHuan in his heart. It's a crummy situation for everyone involved. But at least the emperor didn't figure out what happened between them, right? Till next time, thanks for watching.